Okay, everybody, let's get started with today's lecture. So today we're going to learn a little bit about statistics, some basics. We're going to talk about the mean, the median, the mode, and probably even the average. I mean, not the average, but the average is the same as the mean, mode, and we can add maybe a range. All right, so each one of these terms is different and has a specific formula or a specific way of finding its value. Okay, so they can be confusing sometimes, but make sure you distinguish between them and use the appropriate method or formula when solving problems involved in these. The first one we're going to talk about, of course, is the mean. The mean, again, it just means is the average. They are the same thing, mean and average. It's very simple. If you have, for example, three values, let's say we have 3, you have 1, another value maybe 2. 3 different values. What is the average of these 3 values? When we say what is the mean, we mean the average. What is the mean or the average of these values? Does anybody have an idea before I...
Do you add the numbers?
You add on the numbers and?
Then you divide them by 3?
By 3. That's exactly right. So the mean is basically the average of however many values you have. We just add all of them and you divide by how many values you have. We have 1, 2, 3. First, we're going to add them. And divide all of them by 3, not because of this 3, but because we have 3 values. And this basically is 6 divided by 3, which is 2. Okay, so these are the same term, average and mean. We just mean, like I said, on average, what is this or that? Let's say, for example, if you're into sports and someone scored, let's say, 10 points in one game, and then they scored 11 points in another game, and maybe 9 points in a third game, probably even maybe more games, let's say 12 in another game, and then another game they scored 8. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 values. We call this a data set. A data set of these values, 1, 2, 3, 4. So if a player played 5 games and scored all these points in each game, so we want to know on average how many points that athlete scored. So instead of saying on game 1 they scored 10, on game 2 they scored this, and so on, especially if the season is long, 30 games or so, you don't want to say that 30 times. Instead, you just want to say on average approximately how many points per game. That's when the mean or the average is useful. So for this one, the average or the mean is basically the sum of all of them. I'm going to add all these values together and simply divide them by what number? What do we divide them by?
5.
By 5, exactly, because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So on average, for example, 5 games, all these points, and we're going to add these two. Let me just do that quickly on the calculator to save time. So we have 10. I already know the answer, but it's just, so add them all up. Usually we do the addition on the side, manually, because we don't use calculators. You divide by 5. So basically we add all of them, you get 50 points. And per 5, if you divide 50 by 5, that's 10. So you can say 10 points per game. Okay, on average. We can add on average if you want. Okay, it doesn't mean 10 in each game, but on average. Some games are a little more than 10. Other games are a little more than 10, less than 10. So the points, point average is basically this. Same thing with your grade point average, the GPA. There is a formula that goes into that. So you score 90 in psychology and a B or an 80 in math, or whatever, and some other classes. But at the end, we find the average of all those. That's what where the GPA comes from. So grade point average, depending on the formula. So depending on how many credits each class is worth. So on average, your GPA is calculated. Say you have 4.0 in math, 3.9 in philosophy, I don't know, 3.7 in another class, and so on. But when you graduate, you need an average for all the classes at once, just one GPA, instead of listing all the GPAs for each class. So that's where what we do when we get the point grade average. So if these, for example, are worth all the same number of credits, so if you divide this by 3, you add all these up, and you divide them by 3, you get your term GPA or your overall GPA of the semester or the degree. Okay, so here, if you want to add all these, and you get some sum, let's say this is 16 and 11, and then you divide this by 3. So if you divide those 3, 11.6. The GPA would be approximately 3.87. Okay, even though you had a higher GPA in one class, but some classes were a little lower. That's why your GPA is kind of the middle of these values. So point grade average, just basically a middle value that takes into consideration all the other GPAs. All right, so it's pretty simple. Remember, add all the values and divide it by how many values you have. Let's move on to another term. The other term is median. Again, it's very easy to confuse these terms. Make sure you distinguish, like I said, between the meaning and the purpose of each one. So the next one is the median. Does anybody know what the median is before I explain? Any ideas?
The median, is it like when what numbers are you using? Is it like the middle number?
It is the middle number, that's right. It is the middle number. That's the easy way to remember it, the middle number. Not the average number, but the middle number.
Mm-hmm.
And let's say you have 5, 2, 8, and 9, and maybe 1. So you have 5 values here, or a data set, okay? Data set, or a set of values. What do you think the median is in this data set? Can you see it right away, or do we have to do something else?
I mean, you could cross out, you could start from the right, then the left.
Well, that's pretty close, but before you find the middle value, so you might think, oh, this is a middle value because we have two values. It's not actually that value yet. We have to first arrange these either from highest to the highest. Okay, so arrange values.
I think
Yes.
the big number go first.
Okay. All right. Either way would be fine. So arrange all values from highest to lowest, or the other way. It doesn't matter actually, or to lowest, or vice versa. Vice versa, meaning the other way around, okay? What do you want to start with? Let's say maybe the highest one, okay? So the 9 is the highest. What's the next one? Next highest value would be?
8.
8.
That's right, 8, comma, and?
5.
5 is gone, then?
2, 1.
2, and 1, right? You may have much more many numbers, and you may have even larger numbers. So you could have a huge data set with a lot of values. So you do the same thing. So it helps when you cross out the value after you calculate it. And once you do that, what is the median now?
5.
Exactly. The middle value is 5. Good. So now it helps when you have an odd number of values. We have 5 values here, that's an odd number. Or 7 values, or 9 values, or 11 values. But sometimes you may have a different data set. Let's say you have 12, you have 15, you have 7, and you have maybe 4. So if you look at this data set, maybe we should have worked with easier numbers. If you look at this data set, if we arrange these from, let's do from this time from the lowest to the highest. So the lowest one would be, okay, so this is what we call descending or ascending order. Ascending, and when the values go up. As opposed to this is highest to the lowest, or you can also say descending. Descending as opposed to ascending order. So if we ascend, if we go up, so we can start from 4, then of course 7, 12, and 15. But what's the middle value here? What's the median? Do we see one?
Yeah, I see.
What is it?
I see 12.
Is 12 in the middle? Not exactly.
Maybe it's 7.
Well, it's 7 either. Isn't in the middle. So neither one of these is in the middle. Unlike here, we have 1 value here. We have 2 on the other side. 2.
Oh, yeah.
So how do you go about finding the median here?
Don't you put it from where it says from? Can you put it from highest to lowest?
Even if you do that, it's still going to be
It's the same.
Yeah, we'll still not have a middle value if you put 15 above 7.
Do you add the total number of digits in the data set? So making that the one, the median?
Which ones exactly do you add?
The highest and the lowest?
Nope. So when you look for the median, so the closest ones to the medians were these two. Because you said maybe 7, so we're not sure which one. So to find them,
Yeah, both.
so they're both basically both part of the median, but we need to do something to find that median. So to find it, you simply add them and divide them by 2. So you take the average of the two, basically. So what the average is when you add values and you divide it by how many values. So basically, the average of the two. So no one wins. You can't take one over the other. So to be fair to both of them, we're going to have to add both and divide by 2 because there's 2. So basically, the average of them.
So because they're both in the middle?
Will be 19 over 2, right?
Yeah.
And if you divide that by 2, what is it? 19 by 2 is?
8.
Point?
8.1.
1.
No, actually 8. If you divide 19 by 2,
Okay.
9.
19.5.
That's right, 9.5.
Yeah,
9 and 9, 18. And half is 1. That's 19.
9.5.
Okay, so that's the median of the two. Please mute your mic if you have noise in the background.
I'm not getting it. Cause he's throwing me off.
Okay, let's do that again.
So if we find a value like that, and we do that, we like do addition and then
Exactly. Just add the middle one. Let me show you another problem. Let's say you have 2, 4, maybe 8, and 10. Take 2 more values, probably 6, and possibly 20. All right, so again, we need to find the median. So the definition of the median is the value in the middle. The median, so we have a bunch of values, so that middle value here. So let's
on this case that I'm
minus the middle one, the median is here. When you have some values here and another some values here, same number of values, maybe 10 number here, 10 numbers here, 100 numbers on this side, it has to be 100 ones on the other side. So this basically is the middle and the middle one, or the median one of them. But sometimes it's easy to find the middle one if you have an odd number of values. You have 1, 2, 3, 5. So five values. So right in the middle, when we arrange them, we have 2 values here and 2 here. So that's the middle one. But sometimes we have 4 values only, or 6 or 8. There is no middle value. None of them is considered middle, but we take the 2 middle ones, we add them together and divide by 2. So for this one here, 1, 2, 3, 4, we have 6 values altogether. Let's first arrange them from either highest to the lowest or the other way. So let's do the lowest to the highest. So what's the first value?
4. 2.
2. Then
4.
4.
6.
Then 6. Then
8.
8. And then
20, and then 10 and 20.
Right, 10, then 20. Is there a middle one? No. Is there a middle number?
No, I think
We can't find a middle one because you have 6 values. Okay, we have 6 values. It has to be the same number of numbers on each side of the median. For example, here we have 2 here and 2 here. This we cannot make that true. We cannot have one value in the middle and same number of values on each side. Instead, we take the very values in the center or the middle of the data set. What values are in the center? In the middle of this data set, the numbers are
3 numbers.
8 and
6 and 8.
6 and 8. These are both in the middle. See how we have 2 on this side, 2 on this side. But we need to use them. These are not the median yet. We need to use them to find the median. What do we do with these to find the median?
You add them up and you divide by 2.
That's right. We find their average. Add these 2 together and divide them by 2. So 6 by 8 divided by 2, 14 by 2, that's 7. So this is our median. The value right in the middle. If you don't have a middle, take 2 values in the middle, add them up and divide by 2. Okay? Makes sense, everybody?
Yeah, I understand.
All right. So it's a very simple concept to find the median. And why do we say the median? Well, what's one use of it? For example, nationally, we talk about the median salary in a country. So what do we mean by the median salary? Let's say median salary in a certain country is 50K a year. Okay, 50,000 a year. What does that mean? That means about half of the people make more than 50K, and the other half makes, the other half of the country makes less than that. That's one of the uses of the median. So when you say median salary for country, that means it's about half, or the middle value of that data set is 50K. So half the country makes more, half makes less, and so on. Or the median age in a class, for example, if you have multiple students all different ages, if you say, oh, the median age in this class is, let's say, whatever, for example, 30. That means half of the students in that class have his age is more than 30, and the other half of the student's age is less than 30. So 30 is right in the middle of that class. So median age, median salary, or any other value you can find the median of. Okay, so it's pretty simple. Arrange from the lowest to the highest or the other way around. Then look for the middle value. If you can see it clearly like this, you have 2 here and 2 here, that's got to be the middle. If you can't see it, because we have an even number of numbers, you have an even number of numbers, you have 6 values together, we need to take the middle ones and divide by 2. So that's median. So we did the mean, the median. Now let's look up the third one here, the mode. Mode is slightly different, or it's different from the other two, even though it may sound slightly similar. Right? Does anybody know what a mode is? What's the mode of a data set? Let me give you a data set here. So all these different numbers, 5, 3, 6, 7, 3, 4. How do you find, or what is the median of this data set? What is the mode, rather? Okay, so the definition of the mode is the value that is repeated the most, or the most frequent value.
Okay.
The value repeated the most, or most frequent.
So that would be 3?
That's right. Most frequent. So in this case, the mode is this one. Just like in a class, for example, say there was an exam or a quiz, and some people get, let's say, 80, other person got 95, somebody got 75, and another person got 80, and then maybe 91, and so on, let's say, and someone got 96. So in this class, if these were grades, what is the mode of this data set, this class?
80 and
80. Okay, pretty simple. Just the value that's repeated the most.
Okay, but wouldn't 95?
95.
Oh, yes, I didn't notice that. So we have 2 modes, actually. Very good observation. We have 2 modes because they both repeated the same number of times, unless one of them was repeated more. For example, if we had another 95, a third one, then it will be the mode. It will not be 80. So we say here, we have 2 modes. Two modes, 80 and 95. So what we call this, so this data set, since it has 2 modes, we call it bimodal. Okay, bi meaning 2 modes. So when a set has 2 modes, it's called bimodal. In the third case, we may have, let's say, 2, 7, 8, 3, and maybe 2 again, 5, 8, and probably 3. Okay, so what do you notice about this data set? We're looking for the mode. What do you think that is?
Three.
Looks like 3 is repeated. You might be a mode twice. It repeated twice. Anything else?
8 and 2.
Which one?
8 and 2.
8 is also repeated. What else? And the 2. You have the 2 here also. Well, so we have 3 things that are repeated the same number of times. And in this case, we also say no mode. I mean, we say no mode because we have more than 2. Data set cannot have more than 2 modes. In this case, we have 80, 95, so we call it a bimodal. If there's more than two modes, then we say no, there's actually no mode. Okay, could either be 1, could be 2, but it cannot be 3 numbers. You cannot say 2, 3, and 8 are modes, so we just say no mode for this data set. Okay, that's what the mode is. It's just what value is repeated the most. Like I said, one of the uses of this term is in a class, you would say, oh, a lot of people got 90s or A's or whatever. Say, so the most people in the class got A's. So A's is the mode of that in the data set of the grades of that class. Let's see. So no mode, and also it is possible to have a situation like this: 13, 15, 10, 21, 19, and 17. There's a data set with these values: 13, 15, 10, 21, 19, and 17. Is there a mode in this data set? Do we have a mode here?
No mode, Professor.
That's right. So you don't see any, therefore there's no mode. Simple as that. Nothing is repeated. Each value is distinct. All these values we say they're unique.
Okay.
Or distinct values.
Okay.
Okay, nothing is repeated, they're distinct. But here, this one is repeated, this one 95 and 80, and here all these are repeated, but still there's no mode. Okay, so that's basically the mode. So we talked about the mean, the median, and the mode. Now, let's talk about the range, the third one. In this introduction to statistics, it's basically some basic terms of statistics. Let's see what the range is. All right, so it's 5, 2, 3, 8, and 11, 4, 1. So all these values here, if I 1, 2, 3, 11, 4, 1, we want to find the range. Does anybody have an idea or what the range is or how to find it? The range of these.
Do you
Okay, think about it.
the number?
The range.
I can't hear you, I'm sorry. Get closer to the microphone or speak louder.
You start with the highest
Chat?
number?
Can you like
Tiffany said start with the highest number and do what?
I don't know after that.
Subtract the lowest number.
The highest number is part of it. Anybody else want to try? So we get the highest number, and then
We divide.
We subtract it?
so we subtract from it another number. What's that number that you subtract from that highest?
With the number of the meter.
The lowest number in the data set.
Exactly, the lowest. So the range, when we say, oh, this range is from here to here. So we need the highest value, and then we subtract from it the lowest value. So let's find.
Okay, we take the highest value and subtract for the lower.
That's right. So this is the highest one. And what's the lowest in this data set?
The 1.
1, that's right. Either one, this or this. This is the lowest value. And that's basically the range. You just subtract them. 11.
Okay.
That's 10.
10.
So it's just 10.
And that's it.
Yep, this is the range.
Okay.
Okay.
You don't have to arrange them. You don't have to waste time arranging them. Just look at them, go through the list, and try to find the highest and the lowest. You need to arrange them when you find the median. That's when it's necessary that you arrange all of them and they get the value in the middle. But for the range, if you can spot the highest and the lowest, usually it's easy to spot. Just write those. You don't have to arrange and go through all the data set. Okay, so those are basically your basic terms here. And mode or mean first. We start with the mean, which basically just means average. Okay, it's the exact same thing. Then the median, the mode, and the range. Let's do now let's do a problem here, and we're going to try to find all of them. I'm going to give you a data set. We're going to try to find all of those for the same data set. So I'm just going to let me just put some random data set here, some random numbers, 12, say 8, 7, 1, and 15. And then 4. Okay, so we're going to find mean, mode, okay, so when we say data set, it's just a bunch of values or numbers together. Could be ages of students, could be grades, could be salaries of people at a company or in a country, whatever. So that's what we call a data set, just a set of numbers or values that are usually related to each other. Okay, let's start with the mean. I'll give you guys some time to do this. Okay, I'll give you a few minutes, 10 or 15 minutes to work on this. Get the exact values, and I'll check with you shortly, okay?
What do the means mean again before?
Mean?
Yes, let's work with it.
Average. Mean
So
is
the average.
average.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
All right, everybody, let me give you some time, a few minutes, and work on it. Okay. You guys finished?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's go over this together. What did you guys get for the mean?
7.8.
Say it louder, please. Get closer to the mic.
7.83.
7.18.
83. 7.83.
8.
All right, let's see. Let's check. So 12 plus 8. So we're going to add all these values and divide them by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Divide them by 6. 8, 7, 15 plus 4. Divide by 6. What was your total here?
47.
What's the total?
47.
47. And divided by 6. And you guys got this answer, right? Which seems reasonable. Okay, I trust you on that. I'll take your word for it, right?
Okay.
Okay.
Trust you for now. If anything, I'll come after you. All right, good. The mode. So the mean, again, add all of them, divide by how many? What is the mode?
None.
Is no mode. That's right. No number is repeated. So no mode. After that, we need to go to the median.
7.5.
Okay. Can we see one easily, or do we need to do something? For the median, we need to find a middle value, but we have 6 values here. 6 values is an even number, so there's no middle value. We'll have to find 2 numbers in the middle.
You
Add them and
then you divide them. Oh, you divide them by
by
the 2.
By 2, because there's 2 values. You do the average of them. But first, we're not going to take these. It's not these values. First, have to arrange them anyway, either in either way, lowest to highest, or the other way around. So let's do lowest to highest. So the first one is 1, right? Followed by 4. Then next value is 7, then 8. And of course 12, then 15. As you can see, we can't find one in the middle, or right in the middle, because you have 6 values. There's nothing in the middle. So we're going to have to take the middle ones together and find the mean. So we take 7 plus 8, divide by 2. Only divide by 2 because there's 2 values here. That's 15 divided by 2, which is, of course, as you said earlier, 7.5. So this is the median. There's no mode. This is the average, or the mean. Finally, the range. So we can take advantage of this. As you can see, we already arranged these from the lowest to the highest. Since we already have it, we can easily find the range. How do you find it? What is the range?
15
15.
minus 1.
That's right. The highest minus the lowest.
Yeah. 14.
Oh, I know I got that one right.
You want to go right?
Yeah.
The other one, I'm not that bad either.
At least you got that right.
With the other ones, I forgot to rearrange the numbers, so that's like I lost that. Like I remember to rearrange it.
Exactly. So for the median, very important that you arrange the numbers. And that's basically your intro to a little bit of statistics.